genocide. So why is it so hard for people to understand this? Why are we still struggling to have this recognized? We know that the campaign by Turkish officials opposed to any mention of Armenian genocide has been intense over the years. We have felt it as Jews and Americans. Because Turkey was so important strategically and politically. The Cold War, and then Turkey is one of the Middle Eastern nations that was a pro-Western stable country. We allowed ourselves to be bullied into silence, or at best, softening the hard historical facts. But those who were murdered deserve more. They deserve justice, and the tremendously strong and vibrant Armenian population here in California and throughout the world deserves more. They deserve our respect and friendship. They deserve our voice because they have made this nation great. Yesterday, I was with Lorna Turian Miller, a writer and activist who assembled an amazing collection of survivor testimonies from the genocide. She spoke at the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. It was appropriate that this type of event should be hosted by the Jewish community. But I tell you right now, this is not enough. I want to say, on behalf of the Jewish community and to my community, now and in the future, we need to be aware and forthcoming in our responsibility to share the pain and reality of genocide with our Armenian brothers and sisters. And we need to increase that commitment considerably. It must happen now before another generation is dishonored. Maybe no longer intimidated by our Turkish alliance, we can finally demand honesty. It is too late for the survivors of a genocide from 100 years ago. Almost all have now passed on. But it is not too late for their children and grandchildren. We can work together, the commonality of our suffering. We can lend our voices and resources to the survivors and their descendants. Armenians can be strengthened by a coalition with the Jewish people who have done an amazing job educating and memorializing the Holocaust. Just as Governor Deukmejian supported the Museum of Tolerance when it opened in my hometown of Los Angeles, the Jewish community can now return the favor and help this wonderful community of Armenians in California and throughout this nation establish memorials and museums and research centers and places of learning so that everyone can learn from this tragedy as well. And we must demand that the Turkish government be forthcoming with reparations and consideration for what is part of their history. This is a reality which can no longer be denied. No country can be accepted in Europe or any association or international coalition, for that matter, with such a blatant disregard for the truth. The German people have lived up to their commitments, recognizing their murderous regime that ended 70 years ago. It is more than time for the Turks to do so now. Their continued denial is part of a national disease, typical of autocratic dynasties of the last century, and continues to be manifest by the most despotic regimes in our world today. Last week, the worldwide Jewish community commemorated Yom HaShoah, the day of remembering the Holocaust. And now today, we remember the Armenian genocide. This alignment of dates may be coincidental, but the connection between the Holocaust and the earlier Armenian genocide must never be forgotten. As hopefully you heard in the room today behind me, as Hitler said, "Who after all speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians?" These words, by the way, are on the walls of the Holocaust Memorial in Washington, D.C. But these words need to be recognized across the mall, in the Capitol, and in the White House. And it's the responsibility of every American to make sure that this great country stands on the side of justice and demands that Turkey acknowledge their history. The tragedy of the Armenian genocide, compounded by another tragedy, that of indifference, must serve as a reminder that when we ignore genocide, when we make excuses, even for our allies, we become complicit in a mockery of history, a campaign of deceit, and we diminish our own power to tell the truth. Can we really be at peace knowing that we have turned a blind eye when we enable others to do wrong in silence, or even worse, by rationalizing evil, by supporting it? Not in this country, not in my community, not in a world that values truth and justice. Today, as we remember this dark chapter in history, we stand here in our great state's capital, in this blessed country. We Jews and Armenians, everyone here, must acknowledge how blessed we are. But what makes this country even stronger is the demand of justice for the Armenian people. Let us do our part and memorialize those lives ended so tragically. We owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to this country. And we owe it to the whole world. Azvadz Gezibai. May God bless you.